Salam sejahtera, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon and a warm welcome to all of you, and also to our speaker for today, Encik Muhammad Lizuan. Thank you for taking the time to attend this webinar today. We appreciate your presence. Our talk today is the 43rd of our continuing series of webinars focusing on Malaysia's competitiveness performance and ranking as assessed and reported yearly by international organizations. IMD, short for the International Institute for Management Development, published this performance and rank in their World Competitiveness Yearbook, and so do the World Economic Forum in their Global Competitiveness Report. In the latest edition of the World Competitiveness Yearbook published this year, also known as WCY 2020, Malaysia's competitiveness ranking has dropped to 27th position from 22nd last year, out of 63 countries assessed by IMD. This overall competitiveness score and rank is calculated based on 255 criteria measuring different dimensions of an economy's competitiveness. Two-thirds of the criteria use hard data or statistics obtained from international as well as national sources, and one-third uses survey data obtained from an executive opinion survey aimed at respondents from the middle and senior management levels of the private sector. The 255 criteria are categorized into the 4 competitiveness factors of economic performance, government efficiency, business efficiency, and infrastructure. In our talk this afternoon, our speaker Encik Lizuan will be presenting on density of railroad network, which is a criterion in the infrastructure factor. This criterion measures the length of railroads in kilometers per square kilometer area of a country or economy. I'm sure Encik Lizuan will elaborate further on this criterion in the context of national competitiveness, as well as share with us his findings and recommendations to improve Malaysia's performance and rank for this criterion. Before I hand over the session to our speaker today, let me first introduce him. Encik Muhammad Lizuan Abdul Latif has more than 20 years of experience in the service and manufacturing sectors. He is the principal consultant and trainer for Quality Mind Sdn Berhad, specializing in quality improvement, productivity tools, cost saving, lean manufacturing and service delivery, 5S and Kaizen. A qualified ISO 9001 trainer and auditor, Encik Lizuan is also a Malaysia Productivity Corporation Associate Consultant, an Asian Productivity Organization technical expert, and also a business excellence consultant. He serves as the National Innovation Judge and State Innovation Advisor and was appointed as a lean expert for Malaysia's lean projects. Encik Lizuan has conducted public and customized in-house lean and Kaizen training and consultancy projects for many organizations to establish sustainable improvement in the companies. His lean Kaizen program are uniquely designed with a blend of theory and practical hands-on team activities that provide learning, provide experiential learning to initiate sustainable company-wide implementation of continuous improvement. Encik Lizuan has trained numerous organizations ranging from the public sector to SMEs and MNCs, such as the Malaysia Prime Minister's Office, HRDF, or also known as Human Resource Development Fund, Bridgestone, Singapore and Malaysia, Panasonic Electrics, Hitachi, Petronas, Monier Roofing, Grand Blue Wave Hotel, to name just a few. With that, I now hand over the session to Encik Lizuan. Over to you, Encik Lizuan.
Thank you, Mr. Wong, for the brief introduction on the report as well as on my behalf. So, good afternoon to you and also to all the viewers out there, if there are viewers listening to my presentation today. So, today I'm going to discuss a rather interesting indicator, which is density of railroads network in our country. So this indicator is actually something seems to be easy at first place, but after doing some research into it, there's a lot of limitation and also challenges in order to lengthen the railroad length or density. Okay, so when I first got this this indicator, the first thing I did is to get an overview of the railroad system in Malaysia. So I went to various or respective ministries and agencies to get the information. So from there, I noticed that there's a lot of challenges in order to actually construct railroad in Malaysia, because we have a lot of agencies and as well as bodies governing the railroad network in Malaysia. And to share with you, Mr. Wong, actually to get information from them was not an easy task. So they really need higher clearance or higher authority to get data from respective agencies and also ministries. So due to that, proceed with this desk research through journals, through research done by researchers, and from then I work out this research on railroad density. So let me proceed with the next slide. Yeah. So the content of my slide will be a little bit of introduction and overview of history of rail in Malaysia, overview of current railroad, upcoming and future projects, published data, means data which are being shared in the internet, and drivers contributing to current ranking, and finally my recommendations towards improving the railroad length or railroad density. So as an introduction, from my point of view, international comparisons and country performance assessments are considered a key source of economic growth and competitiveness for a country. Okay, so by joining or by embarking in this journey of competitiveness with team with Mr. Wong and team from MPC. So I think it's very important for us to understand the indicators that are being shared with international bodies. So this is where we know where we are standing, where we should improve and how to improve. So personally, I think understanding indicators, especially in international reports, are very important for a country to really improve its competitiveness level. This is what I always believe and preach for any international programs. Each country must know what to improve, especially in their competitiveness ranking, because we must know what are high value process, product, services which are needed in as a country. Yeah? And also transport policy decision affect mobility of people and goods, and thereby positively influence productivity, GDP growth, and as also employment. Economic growth and development affect both demand and the pattern of transport services. Yeah? That's why it's important for us to be competitive and will increase the demand for transport services. The efficiency of nation's transport system directly correlates to trade and economic growth. An efficient transport system, a well-equipped transport infrastructure are vital for a strong economy, locally, regionally, and nationally. By providing high-quality accessibility to jobs, manufacturers, suppliers, and also customers. Malaysian railways are facing the challenge to improve their reliability and speed in order to offer competitive service and enhance their importance as a road alternative. And Malaysia's geographical position and strength in infrastructure make it natural gateway to Southeast Asia. So as an introduction, I think it's important for our country to really study the importance of railroad contribution towards the economy. And then we have, as I've said earlier, Malaysia's geographical position is very strong, yeah, in order to get better marketing and also economy. Yeah. So definition of railroad network density. Okay, when I first got this indicator, I was telling myself, in order for us to increase the indicator or ranking in our country, is just lengthen the railroad. Yeah, but it's not that easy. Yeah. So the definition is total length of public lines work at end of year, sourced by International Railway Statistics, and also length of line transportation made up by rail exclusive for use of railway vehicles and maintained for running trains divided by geographic area of the country. Meaning to say, railroad network density means length of the railroad to compare with the area of the country. So the longer railroad you have, the more dense network you will get in the country. So it's actually based on area size or area base of a country. So these are the history, or a little bit of history journey in Malaysia. It started in 1880s, in the early beginning. So the first railway opened from Taiping to Port Well to send in tin from the tin mine, Western to Beaufort in 1896. And 1900 to 1950 is the great expansion, where the railway track spanned from Semenanjung until Singapore and in Sabah. And 1950 to 2000 is modernization era. We have a lot of new trains coming in, and also 2000 until now, it's actually a lot of improvement on the train, especially on the technology and the electrification. So from 2000 onwards, the government introduced LRT 123, MRT 123, ECRL, KTM commuter, ETS. So this is part of the journey of the Malaysian rail. So Malaysia have gone through a lot of phases in railroad, and now I think we have a very modern rail in Malaysia. These are type of rails and trains that we have. Well, I cannot see full slides from here. Oh. Okay, these are type of rails and trains which are in Malaysia. We have, firstly, is the track, double track and also single track. Double track and also single track can be seen from the picture. And these are types of trains which are in Malaysia. So on the right hand side are the latest trains that we are using now. Okay. And on the slide shows the rail for KTM, Kereta Api Tanah Melayu Berhad, KTM, which span about around 1,151 kilometers on the west coast, which from the JB Central until Padang Besar. So the length of this railroad is actually around 1,151 kilometers. 1,151 kilometers. And 759. I'm reading my notes here. 759 are electrified. It's in an electric train. So another 700, 500 plus is on the next project on to be the electric rail. On the east coast, spanning from Gemas to Tumpat, the length of this railroad is 526 kilometers. 526 kilometers. And the time taken to travel from Gemas to Tumpat is around 11 hours and 54 minutes. It takes almost 12 hours to reach Gemas to Tumpat by train. So they are still using diesel-powered train on this railroad. And at the moment, the East Coast Rail is on repair. It's under a lot of repair work due to big flood in 2014. So the 2014 flood submerged most of the rail tracks as well as stations. So the ministries, MOT, has invested almost 800 million to improve the railway. Okay. So these are actually the longest in Malaysia, the longest railroad in Malaysia, from KTMB, Kereta Api Tanah Melayu Berhad. So we are covered into two: West Coast from JB to Padang Besar, East Coast from Gemas to Tumpat. And on the right are the station or the stoppings for all the trains. And we have another train station in Sabah, which are being operated by Jabatan Kereta Api Negeri Sabah, JKNS, which around 132 kilometers. 132 kilometers. And there are no railroad in Sarawak, and they are actually previously they have 8 kilometers of railroad, but they are no longer in use. So now we consider Sarawak has no railroad. But last 2 years, Sarawak government announced that they want to do LRT in Sarawak, but the project was also scrapped due to financial issues and other important activities. These are our urban rail line, which consists of MRT, LRT, monorail, ECRL, and also commuters. Okay, commuters. So the next one will be the LRT3. So the total length as of today or 2020, latest 2020 source from Ministry of Transport is 1,999 kilometers as of this year, 2020. So MRT is around 51 kilometers, ECRL 69 kilometer, from KLIA to KL Central. JKNS, Jabatan Kereta Api Negeri Sabah, around 134 kilometers. LRT 91.4 kilometers. KL Monorail 8.6 kilometers. KTMB is 1,655 kilometers. So the longest rail are being operated by Kereta Api Tanah Melayu Berhad. So total length as today, as of 2020, is 1,999 kilometers. So these are upcoming projects or future projects of land or rail. These are electrified double track project, which span around 329 kilometers. Okay, Perlis 35, Kedah 98, Penang 63, Perak 133 kilometers. The other projects are in Negeri Sembilan, Melaka, Johor, which also will add up another 98.271 kilometers, where Negeri Sembilan is 64.85, Melaka 31.97, and Johor 1.45 kilometers. This is improving Klang Valley rail. We call it Klang Valley Double Track Project, rehabilitation projects, which span about 42 kilometers between Rawang and Salak Selatan, as well as Sentul and Simpang Batu. Okay, this KTMB initiative to enhance existing station, existing signaling and electrification system. Next is Subang SkyPark Terminal Extension. Some got confused about Subang SkyPark. We already have Subang SkyPark, but this is the extension from Subang Airport, to Subang Jaya Station, which span around 8.157 kilometer. Okay, which is located in Terminal 3 of the airport. At the moment, Subang SkyPark only serve as a destination from KL Central to Subang Airport, but there is no other stopping from SkyPark. So this is additional stopping from Subang SkyPark to Subang Jaya Station. Next is the light rail transit line. The project is currently being developed under the Urban Rail Development by SPAD, or we call it APAD now, and it's key part of National Land Public Transport Master Plan, which aims to create a public system that is competent, efficient, integrated, and sustainable by increasing social level in Malaysia and promoting better quality of life for the. So the LRT will span around 36 kilometers from Bandar Utama to Klang. So the expected completion is by date of, I think this target has been changed due to a lot of reasons, I think. So actually this LRT can be seen all over Shah Alam and also Damansara, all along this way. We can see a lot of construction, but I think the date of completion will be 2 or 3 years to go. Another project, which is I think one of the longest project, is will be the East Coast Rail Line, ECRL. So it will cover the East Coast Economic Region, measuring 60,000 kilometers, or 51% of total Peninsula Malaysia, with total population 4.3 million. This is another opportunity for economic sector, which will communicate with 4.43 million people in East Coast region. It covers Kelantan, Terengganu, and Pahang, with the length of 640 kilometers, connecting different parts of East Coast and West Coast region in Malaysia. Okay, so this infrastructure is crucial for growing ECR region, East Coast Economic Region, and it's a key enabler for the region that can connect industry area, especially Greater Kuala Lumpur, and to unlock the growth will form a backbone is your multimodal transport infrastructure. Okay, they will also complement existing road infrastructure as the Lebuh Raya Pantai Timur and the existing KTMB East Coast Line and ports. And on the right side of the slides, they actually the railroad of the East Coast Rail Line. So from the next upcoming project, I think is the shortest of all, I think, but also important for economic perspective, the Malaysia-Singapore Rapid Transit System, RTS. It's only 4 kilometer shuttle between Johor Bahru, Malaysia, and Woodland. It serves a convenient and cost-effective shuttle system integrated with both public transport system and both sides of the border. And according to immigration, there are 300,000 Malaysian travel across Johor-Singapore Causeway every day, making it one of the busiest overland boarding crossings in the region. I think we all have this problem if you want to cross to Singapore, especially in the causeway during peak hours, because we have to wait for a long check by the Singapore immigration. So by having this RTS, it will be very convenient for the rakyat to travel in and out Singapore. The development and civil phase will take place from year 2021, next year, and will end hopefully by 2024. The station will start at Chaga Station Link, Bukit Chaga Station in Johor Bahru, to Woodland North Station in Singapore. And I think it's not the longest, but this will open a bigger economy sector for Malaysia. The Singapore Kunming Rail Link, because Singapore Kunming Rail Link will be connecting a lot of countries like Cambodia, Myanmar, Thailand, Vietnam, inclusive Singapore. And these are also part of the Belt and Road Initiative by China in order to create greater economy for this region. And Malaysia is the permanent chairman for this meeting since 2007. So hopefully this project will be realized and we can easily travel all over our neighboring countries by rail. So with that introduction and also history and a little bit of scenario of current railroad, these are actually the main player in our railroads. These are the agencies and ministries involved, and also bodies involved. And they are namely Ministry of Transportation, MOT, which handles transportation related matters, which include all transportation, rail, maritime, ports, and civil aviation. So they are important to formulate, implement policies, to plan, execute projects, spearhead integration, holistic national transport system, to make available transport services delivery system for land transport, to enforce laws, regulate compliance, and spearhead regional and international cooperation programs. Okay, and they have actually a team of personnel which handles only rail transportation. This is how big is Ministry of Transportation and how important Ministry of Transportation in the government. Secondly is the Land and Transport Agency, APAD. Before this, it was known as SPAD. Now it's called APAD. They are actually the regulators. They have the regulatory power to monitor and regulate standard and also the performance of industry operators through licensing. So they have jurisdiction over Peninsular Malaysia only. Okay, that's why they are not covering Sabah and Sarawak. So planning power, establishing master plan to ensure comprehensive and integrated sustainable infrastructure development. This is the function of APA. Thirdly is RAC, Railway Assets Corporation, okay, which was established as a government agency to develop railway industry to be par with the railway industry in a fully developed country. Okay, and they also took over all its KTM asset, kereta tanah melalui asset and liabilities, to enable KTMB to concentrate operation without having to carry the burden of past debts. So RAC now functions as the caretaker and business planner to govern and interpret railway assets into valuable capable of generating continuous income for the government. Fourthly is Kereta Api Tanah Melayu Berhad. It started as Malaysian Railway Limited in 1948. It was built to transport tin. It was constructed to transport tin in British colonial era, and they are being converted into Malaysian Railway Administration (MRA), and Kereta Api Tanah Melayu acquired it in 1962. In 1992, it's been corporatized as Kereta Api Tanah Melayu Berhad to reduce national railway industry dependency on the government. So these are the unit subsidiaries: KTM Intercity, ETS Commuter Cargo, and KTM Distribution, which handle a lot of parcel for the public. So these are the biggest, I think, rail operator in Malaysia. Next is Prasarana, or Rapid. So Rapid is being handled by Prasarana Malaysia. And they drive transformation of public transport system and services, and own 3 LRT networks, KL monorail, and also MRT line. Okay, they also own and operate buses in Kuala Lumpur, Selangor, Penang, Perak, and Pahang. They also provide management and engineering consultancy locally and abroad. And they also undertake commercial and transit-oriented development projects within its asset, as well as key public transport infrastructure projects in the country. And Express Rail Links Berhad is the rail for KLIA Express, KLIA Transit Services. Okay, they commenced operation in 2002. It's a non-stop air rail connection between Kuala Lumpur and also KL Central with journey of 20 minutes. Okay, I think most of us have commute using KLIA Express, and they have never missed, I think, from my experience, this 28 minutes journey time. Okay? So this will facilitates planning for people to commute to KLIA. Passengers can also take 3-minute ride between KLIA and KLIA 2. And it runs 4 services per hour during peak hours and 3 services per hour during off-peak hours. And lastly, is Sabah State Railway Department, or Jabatan Kereta Api Negeri Sabah. Okay, it was renamed in 1963 as GKNS, and the length of the runway is 134 kilometers from Tanjung Aru to Tenom. Okay, it's a fast-growing tourist passenger service via the Vulcan steam train and whitewater rafting activities between Rayo and Panji. Although actually is popular among tourists in Sabah, because I was in Kota Kinabalu for almost 3 years, but I've never been to commute on this train. So I think this is popular among tourists in Sabah. And these are the international body which governs railway system. In English, we say it's called International Union of Railways. Actually, UIC is a short form for French, but I don't know how to pronounce it because its HQ is in France. So, what professional association representing the railway sector and promoting the rail transport. So KTMB is one of the members for International Union of Railways. Okay, they actually help countries in technical cooperation and also research and develop the needs to draw full potential of railway companies. They lead innovative and dynamic sector, helping members and contouring success and opportunities. Okay. They develop strategies and initiatives to improve business performance, increase rail transport investment. They also help annual conference. Last year it was done in Tehran, 2019, and this year due to the COVID pandemic, they will do it online from France on 11 December 2020. So whoever is interested can join this conference on 11 December. So these are the important player in setting our railroad in Malaysia. So actually, Malaysia have done a lot of initiative in improving our transport system. So 2019, MOT come up with a national transport policy, okay, in order to improve and also increase the direction of sustainable transport sector. So the purpose of this policy is to provide direction for ministries, streamline initiatives, ensure efficient and effective use of resources, and acts a common platform so that sectoral plans complement each other. So I've extract some information from the National Transport Policy. These are actually the 5 thrusts and objectives that have been formulated in that study. Okay, so one of it is objective number 3. I want to focus on that, is to provide mobility that meet people's need, and also number 4, increase modal share for public transport. So in order to do this, it's important we have this action taken to improve all these objectives. And I would like to take you into these 6 strategies, but I will choose only one which related to my research, which is the increase the utilization of rail service for passengers and goods. And the key action item, which is stated in the NTP, is enable multi-rail operator, enforce rail freight for hazardous and dangerous goods, enhance road rail port connectivity or integration. I think this is much related to my research on railroad density. Okay, so from the slides shown, the numbers or passengers commute using KTMB, spanning from year 2009 until 2018. Okay, the blue graph is on KTMB, and the green is on commuters. So from this graph, you can explain. It shows that the numbers is actually reducing from year 2016, 2017, and 2018. Okay, and this is due to the fact that introduction of new railroad from MRT, LRT, and also ECRL. So you can see here steady number of passengers for Kanajaya route, Ampang route, KL monorail, Kelai Express, and also Kelai Transit. But what interests me is this Laluan MRT Sungai Buloh and Kajang. So there are no passengers from 2014 to 2016 because there is the phase of constructing the rail. But then again, 2017, you can see high increase in usage of commuters or passengers. And in 2018, the passengers double up to 51,314 to 140. So this shows that how importance of this laluan or this line of MRT from Sungai Buloh to Kajang. So actually I was one of the first to test or to be on this train because it was for free. I think few months MRT was on free mode, so everybody was using it to try out. So actually people are more convinced because MRT has a lot of frequency of locomotive. Every 5 to 6 minutes there'll be a train take us to our destination. So due to this, actually we can see reduction of KTMB and also commuters passengers is due to the introduction of new lines or new route in Klang Valley. Okay, and these are actually number of total container handled by KTMB, and it shows very stable numbers, which is not more than 350,000 tons of containers. Numbers of containers from 2009 to 2018. And these are the overall summary of length of rail, numbers of passengers, commuters, total freight being handled by KTMB and also Kereta Api Negeri Sabah, GKNS. Okay, so my study is based on this WCY ranking. Okay, so for the span of 5 years from 2016 to 2020, actually we are stagnant. We are actually have not improved from the ranking of 45. And our value is only 0.007. Okay, 0.007. And this is due to the fact that the length of our railroad have not increased tremendously in order to improve the ranking in WCY. So this is the 5 years assessment on railroad density in our country. So we are actually at number 45, number 45 in WCY 2020 railroad density network, where Singapore, Hong Kong, Czech Republic is top 10 in WCY railroad density. Okay, so next is this ranking from World Economic Forum indicator. We stand at number 12 with point of 5.10. Okay, much better than WCY, because this is actually a survey done by them. Okay, the WCY is actually hard data. Hard data. This is respondent. They got it from this survey did by WCY. The score for railroad infrastructure quality is based only on one question. From 1 to 7, 1 is underdeveloped, 2 is 7 is extensive and efficient. So we falls under number 12. That is 5.10. Okay, so Japan is heading, Hong Kong and Switzerland are heading this railroad infrastructure quality in WEF indicator. So comparison at the glance. Okay, comparison at the glance. So while discussing with personnel from respective agencies of transportation, I did ask them, why don't you actually increase the length of the railroad? Okay, so by doing so, you will increase our ranking in WCY. But according to them, in order for them to increase number of tracks or increase number of the length of the railroad, we need to have the demand. We need to have this the needs to increase longer railroad. So according to them, having longer railroad but which is not being used is not productive. So from this comparison at a glance, we can see that our land area is quite big to compare to Hong Kong and also Singapore. I think they are very fraction of our country. But then again, if we call the density, Hong Kong is number one with, you can see the riders, the ridership or the passenger. Ridership means the passenger of the which commute using trains or railroad. 191. Japan, you can see 197 million of passengers. And in Malaysia, we have only 2,028 million passengers. These are some indicators that shows why the length of Malaysia Railroad stopped at 1,999. So drivers contributing to the current ranking is actually high dependency on foreign products. So local operators continue to depend on original equipment manufacturers in order to support and maintain rail operation. Malaysia imported rail-related parts and components worth about USD 250 million in 2010. Okay, so from the table shown that none of the locally sourced, everything is being imported from outside our country. So these are one of the issues that hamper our railroad line. Okay, high dependency on foreign products. Second is integration on railway system. Okay, because in KL itself we have various type of public transportation. Okay, so a lot of money is spent on this rail transport development to reduce congestion in Kuala Lumpur. But then again, there are many also bus companies, feeder bus, which are not coordinated. Sometimes they are not following the time or the timetable given to help to help the passengers from one place to other location. Okay, because due to different rail providers. Number two, road competition. Okay, so with increasing length of roads, road operators will be able to offer point-to-point delivery, both in freight and passenger transport. Okay, currently, railway stronghold only 3 segments: freight transport, bulky, and inter-passenger transport, and commuting passenger travels in heavily populated areas. So, can you imagine Malaysia has constructed 238,789 kilometers on routes, as to only 2,984 railroads. Okay, as from the pictures shown, is the how beautiful and how big is our road in Malaysia. And on my right is actually the Rawang bypass, which has a lot of debate, where they have gone through forest, dense forest, and actually in the forest there's a plant which only exists in Malaysia, and due to that they have to reroute the railway Rawang bypass just to protect the plant in that forest. Okay, this is secondly is road competition. Number 3 is changing pattern of the economy. So in the economic development of the 20th century, so the core economic activities have changed. So people nowadays are buying directly from China. So people don't need any more orders in bulk. People don't need any more containers order from China. Okay, so you can see a lot of platforms like Lazada, Shopee. Most of us are using this to shop, and they have a lot of platform for deliveries as well. Grab, Food Panda, and others. So these are the competition for railroad, changing pattern of the economy. Punctuality and delays, from the pictures shown. Punctuality and delays is a main problem in rail, okay, especially during peak hours. So this can be avoided if they are a lot of more trains to help increase the punctuality. So other than that, trains and buses assisted with unreliable, frequent delays, and as well as cancellation. Ticketing system, there are several different bus and rail operators across Klang Valley. They have different ticketing system. Okay, so the average time travel to single journey lengthen for queuing and waiting time for ticket purchase or arrival of vehicles. Okay, during especially peak hours, and also due to lack of inadequate ticketing counters as well as the machine. Okay, so this also increase waiting and overall journey time for the commuters. And also frequency of train. So frequency of trains is very important to reduce congestion, especially during peak hours. Okay, and missing train just by minutes could mean a loss of waiting time in some instances, where passengers have no other choice but to take connecting train, shuttle bus, so they can be on time for work or for meetings. And less frequency of trains can cause overcrowded situation in the coaches and also contributing to increased number of waiting time. Okay, so due to that, it will lead to further delays, and additionally, over the coaches could induce some problems such as inconvenience and vulnerable to safety, especially during COVID pandemic. So four recommendations. First is to strengthen function of ministries agencies. Okay, so they need to have good policy and good administrative to help to improve transport policy for Malaysia transportation system. Okay, and localization of rail product and services by developing capabilities in targeted technology areas, maximizing use of locally sourced materials, acquiring foreign technology, and upgrade current workforce and technical know-how. And also study on railroad route capacity optimization. So RAC, or the Railway Development Corporation, should conduct a rail route capacity to understand which rail should be increased in terms of train sets or in terms of the length of the railway. Okay, and they need to have a lot of public engagement. So these ideas is being done in Hong Kong, where they have regular public engagement to get public views for future development. So in order to know which station to construct, which railway is important for them to improve. And also coverage of railway network. The coverage of existing commuter rail network need to be extensive, providing railway to most major residential and commercial areas. So most people can use railway services by accessing station on foot, or we use of feeder services. Bus railway network will cover areas inhabited by more than 70% of the local population. Again, increase number of train set based on high capacity route. So after studying the capacity of the route, so number of train sets need to be improved. Okay, there, according to KTMB, there are routes that high in capacity of ridership but lack of train sets. So this will affect train intervals and capacity. Due to that, RAC need to increase train set to accommodate the demand in high capacity route. In other way, this could reduce complaints towards delays and being not punctual. And integrated public transportation, functional, or we call it model integration. Model integration means combination of using two or more modes of public transport to create a better transport services easier to travel from origin to destination. You can combine different mode of public transport such as bus, commuter, LRT, MRT, and Grab. As well as integrated ticketing system, okay, where one ticket can be used in any journey mode, buses, commuter, rapid, LRT, and also ECRL. Service innovation. I think we should improve in service innovation, okay, based on new technologies and the integration of multiple services to implement a new way which aim to provide benefit to both customer and company organization. These are the examples that we have. For example, Hong Kong embrace innovation as the pillar in corporate culture. Okay, so we have railway in stations in Japan, Hong Kong, as well as Singapore, where people come to train station not to commute, but to spend time and enjoy the train station. These are part of service innovation. This one is innovation is done by Japan Rail in Osaka. They call it Osaka Loop. They actually renovated, improved their station, and they have this Shinkansen Hello Kitty theme, where you can see inside of the Shinkansen is all under Hello Kitty's way of designing. They have also Hello Kitty cafes in the train station, and in their loop they use music as the stopping what do you call it, jingles. Every stopping they have different jingles to tell commuters this is different station. And internal part of the Japan Osaka loop, they have reduced number of seats. They allowing people to stand because the loop is very short. Station to station is very short. So what they did is they remove the seats to reduce the waiting time for the station for the train to stop. So by standing, so the commuters are easy to enter and exit the train. And also the toilets. The toilets are being cleaned 45 times a day. 45 times a day. So can you imagine how clean is the toilet? And every toilet has different smell. They have flowery smell, fruit smells. So these are innovation which being done in Japan Osaka Loop in Japan Rail. And also we should have the idea of going into train as part of the holidays, not as a mode of transportation. Going into the train is part of a holiday to commuters, and this is being done for other countries like India, Switzerland, Russia. Okay, going into the train is actually not as a commute mode, going to the train as a holiday mode. So I think this is some sort of innovation that we should do in Malaysia. And also competencies, especially on customer service. This is pictures taken from Hong Kong Customer Service Pledge for 2020. So they have their pledge for customer service, and they have their target, which is actually all is 99%. So by equipping personnel with the skill sets, employees are prepared for suitable responses to questions asked by the passengers towards satisfaction and convenience of the commuters. So Mr. Wong has conclusion. The development of railway transport system provide excellent impacts to Malaysia in terms of economy. Malaysia is actually improving towards better railway system. A lot of studying has been made and in the pipeline of improving with all these NTPs, National Transport Policy 2019-2030, rail studies being done by Malaysia industry group, MI technical team, and we need to rethink. This is being actually, this word is being used by Hong Kong policymakers in railroad. They need to rethink on robustness of railroad development. we need to be strong and agile. Robustness of railroad development is very important. Okay, so it has to be holistic. It must be planned properly, and you must include innovative service and product, because railroad is no longer about only a way of transportation. And before I end the presentation, I have one proverb saying that a developed country is not a place where the poor have cars, it's where the rich use public transportation. So with that note, I would like to end my session on railroad density, and I hope my research towards increasing the density of railroad in Malaysia will be benefited by these respective agencies and also ministries, in order for them to propel our national railroad. So hopefully my recommendation will be used by them to improve the facilities and also the convenience of the rakyat. Okay, so I think that is all, Mr. Wong, on my session. I hope it will be very fruitful for all the viewers as well as for MPC. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep, thank you very much, Lizuan. That was a very interesting talk regarding railroad in Malaysia, railroad travel versus other types of travel like ground transportation by road, especially, and also by air. Right now, there are no questions yet from many participants. So while waiting for questions, let me ask a question first. Let me start by asking, if we look at the interstate rail travel, Lizuan, in Malaysia, interstate rail travel, like we want to go from, say, Kuala Lumpur to Kuantan. Of course, travel by rail has competition, competition from travel by road. And I think in Malaysia, we have a very good network of expressways. Although we have to pay toll, but it's still very good, very efficient. We can get from one place to another in terms of point-to-point delivery. We can travel better than taking the train. So maybe the rail travel here needs to be competing with air travel, instead of competing with the road travel. So for example, if you want to go from KL to Penang, if you have a railway or travel by rail that's very fast, high-speed rail, for example, like in Japan or in China or other countries, then we can get point to point from your house in KL right to the destination in Penang, for example, maybe even faster than travel by air. So is that the direction that our Malaysia government or Ministry of Transport should look at to expand, travel by rail for interstate travel to make it faster, high-speed rail? What is your opinion on this, Lizuan?
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Wong, for that question. Actually, the only future or undertaking by the government is high-speed rail from Johor to Kuala Lumpur. Johor, Kuala Lumpur, using the high-speed rail, which they said might reduce the time taken is from 3 hours to 1.5 hours. Okay, but there are no future projects connecting any KL to the west coast, especially like you are asking from Kuala Lumpur to Kuantan or to the east coast. There is no planning or future projects on this high-speed rail. But I agree with you. If the government can really invest on high-speed rail for all the states in Malaysia, I think then they will be competing on rail transport, air transportation, and no longer competing with road competition. I agree with you, but at the moment, through my research and also my study, there is no future undertakings on high-speed rail from Kuala Lumpur to West Coast or to East Coast. They are going to have only high-speed rail from Singapore to Kuala Lumpur. I think they're still under negotiating on this.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good starting point. I think it's very, very costly or expensive, yeah, for the nation to embark on such a massive project like high-speed rail spanning a few hundred kilometers. Is a really massive infrastructure project which requires a lot of development budget from our, national budget.
True.
That so is definitely constraint, yeah? And I mean, from KL to Singapore, that is, I think, the best as a start, the best route as a start, and it can also help to generate economic growth along the railway line, all the way from KL to Singapore. With whatever stops, whatever stations they have along the way. So is that something that is already delayed because we have like change of government, and then we have currently we have the issue of the COVID-19 pandemic. Is that going to be delayed by many years, Lizuan, this particular project?
The high-speed rail project will be they will be discussing again in 2031. So they have been actually postponed it until 2031 with Singapore government. So I think high-speed rail still, it's a long way to go in our Malaysia railroad.
Okay. So that's not our focus. I guess if it's going to be taking another 10 to 11 years more, I guess we can, at the meantime, forget about that as a way to help us improve our ranking. And also, actually, when I look at Malaysia's score in terms of the railroad density, you mentioned 0.007. That particular number, it has not changed much over the last 5 years. If I look at other countries for this particular criteria, of course, Singapore and Hong Kong, they are like number 1 and number 2, but they are very small city-state, and they focus mainly on the MRT, LRT, subway, within city area. So they don't have a lot of land outside cities like Malaysia has. We look at Sabah, Sarawak, we have a lot of jungle there. Of course, we are not going to build railroads there. There's no point. So with that, I think for Malaysia's situation, I think maybe it's not so much about improving the ranking for this criteria, because I think it's going to take a long time, and also maybe not necessary for us to chase after this ranking. It's not necessary for Malaysia. So if we look at railroad, what is necessary for Malaysia? Do you agree that we need more what you call a mobility, people mobility, rather than for goods movement? Is it okay now, our transportation network for goods movement from factory or warehouse to the port, or from port to back to the factory warehouse? Is that okay? I think most people use, most companies use the land transportation, I think. Is that true?
Yes. Yeah. You are right, Mr. Wong, because through my research, I can see a lot of companies nowadays are using roads because it's point-to-point delivery. If they use railroad, there's no such thing as point-to-point delivery. So they need to change the transportation mode from rail to road. So different kind of modes. So this one incurred more cost and time for the companies and also factories. So that's why a lot of factories and business are taking roads into consideration to transport their goods because of this point-to-point issue. So I think you are right. So a lot of businesses are moving from railroad to road in sending their goods and also cargoes.
Yeah, agree. That brings us to I think people mobility. Maybe that is more important because especially in cities, Although now our MRT and LRT very much focus for KL and of course Selangor, I mean the Klang Valley. But I guess when other cities like JB or Penang or Ipoh, if they the population gets more and more cars on the road, more and more traffic jams and congestion, this kind of LRT for people movement will be required in those other cities as well, not just in KL and Selangor. But today I feel that our network of railroad, I mean not railroad, but the electrified rail, LRT, MRT, and commuter, KTM commuter. This probably the coverage as well as the frequency and also the entire feeder network is not sufficient to encourage people to want to travel using this mode of transportation compared to they take the Grab car or maybe they prefer to drive. It will get them to their destination faster. What do you think that the government needs to do in order to encourage more people to take the public transportation like railroad, for example?
So actually, what I've presented earlier, the competition with roads is really intense because as I've said earlier just now, there is no point to point. If you want to go, you want to take the rail, you want to take the train, there is no direct connection from the house to the station. So we need to take the feeder bus. So that's why I said they have issues point to point destination. That's why government has to really increase and also collaborate with Grabs instead of competing with them. Collaborate with them, make them be part of this railroad railroad journey much faster. So railroad and Grabs and also all this platform should be together in this policy of improving or using train facilities. I think that's the best way to increase number of passengers using trains, because if not, they'll take a lot of time because frequency of feeder buses is very slow, it's very low. So they need to increase number of feeder buses or increase number of Grabs, and also maybe increase the what do you call it? Maybe the size of the buses, make it bigger so more passengers can go in. So I think government need to really look into this matter, not just constructing a lot of stations, but still very far from houses. That's what I think.
Okay, so it's not just to extend the length of our railroad, but actually probably the plans that we have, that the government already have for LRT and MRT within the Klang Valley, that is already good if it's on track. I know you mentioned it's been delayed. The LRT3 project, for example, has been delayed. Hopefully not delayed so much. But these are the what do you call the development for rail transportation that is going to help the rakyat. And it's not so much of keep on expanding the length of the railroad, but actually the ecosystem surrounding the railroad, so that people can be encouraged, motivated to take this mode of transportation in terms of point to point. They can get to the destination just as fast as if they drive car by themselves, or if they take a taxi or Grab car, the e-hailing service. Because today, I think for KL, Selangor, KL, PJ, the only motivation to use LRT, for example, if you want to go to KL, is because of the parking. It's very expensive. So if you drive your car there, you get caught in the traffic jam probably peak hours. If you need to drive there or come back home during peak hours, you get caught. And then also the parking. If you're going there for one whole day, maybe you go to a workshop or a seminar there, it's going to cost a lot in terms of the parking charges, parking fees. So it is that is only on encouragement today to use the LRT. It takes longer time to get to a destination in KL, but you save money because you don't have to pay for parking charges especially. But I think to encourage more, more people, not just going to KL, but even within PJ, for example, or within one part of Selangor to another part, it encourage more railroad travel. We need to have more efficient feeder bus service, and also probably more frequent LRT service as well. Because people movement also will help in the productivity, right? People got more time, yeah, for other things, for work and for leisure activities, if they spend less time traveling from their home to their workplace.
Correct.
So with that, I think you think our government is on the right track in terms of focusing on the type of need of the rakyat for railroad travel. I mean, in city, within city, as well as interstate, combined with other modes of transportation, combined with road, combined with air. Do you think we are okay? I mean, for the next, let's say, 5 to 10 years, we are on track?
I think government has actually balanced out for this mode of transportation. They actually improve air transport, land transport, rail transport, and also marine transportation. They are actually quite balanced because if you look at our government's priority, is actually a lot of things they should look into because if they spend a lot of money out of investment on railroads, okay, less investment on roads. So what happened to our automotive industries or automotive demand? So that's why I think government is on the right track. They are balancing out all this medium of transportation on land, air, rail, and also water lah, marine. So I think from my point of view, government is on the right track. So
okay, thank you. Okay, last question. Regarding efficiency of the railroad, especially using digitalization or in this era of IRR 4.0, right? Okay, so for example, if we look at Grab car, it's very easy to call a Grab car nowadays. How about for railroad? Do we have e-ticketing, internet, very convenient way to pay for the ticket, today in our railroad system?
Yes. Actually, most of them actually have already introduced apps for kereta api Tanah Melayu Berhad, Rapid. They have introduced it. But then again, maybe the awareness or usage from the commuters are not there yet because they are not used to use apps for rail transportation. But they have actually introduced last year and also this year for the commuters to use it. I think we they are already improving this IR 4.0 into the system. So.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
There's no other question still, Lizuan. Okay. No questions from participants. I think with that we can end our session today. So
okay, sure.
Thank you very much to our speaker, Lizuan, for very interesting and enlightening talk. And also thank you to all those who have attended our webinar today for taking your precious time out from your busy schedule to participate in this talk. And I wish everyone a very good and restful weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay home. Stay home as much as possible. If you don't need to go out, don't go out. So yes, goodbye. Correct. Thank you.
All right. Goodbye. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.